Thinking about becoming a mobile developer, huh? It's an awesome field, but let's be real, it can feel like a total maze when you're starting out. But what if you had a map? Well, today, we're going to walk through a roadmap from Mosh Hamadani, a software engineer with over 20 years in the game. He's laid out a guide, and we're going to follow it. Let's get this journey started.
You know, the biggest mistake a lot of aspiring developers make is just bouncing around from one tutorial to the next without any real direction. A much better way to think about it is like this. You're on a road trip. You've got a starting point, a destination, and you need clear signs along the way. That's exactly what a good roadmap gives you.
And if you're looking at this whole tech world and feeling completely lost, hey, you are not alone. There are so many languages, frameworks, and tools out there, it's totally normal to wonder, where in the world do I even begin? That's the exact problem we're trying to solve today.
Okay, so our journey starts at the very first major crossroads. This is a big one. It's a fundamental choice that's going to shape everything you learn from here on out. Let's break it down.
And that decision really comes down to how you want to build your apps. There are basically two main approaches, and the one you pick determines all the tech you're going to need to learn. So here's the deal. On one side, you've got native development. That means you build one app just for Apple's iOS, and then you build a totally separate app for Google's Android. You get the absolute best performance, the slickest user experience, but you're literally building two different apps. That's double the code, double the time, and yep, double the cost. On the other side, you have cross-platform. Here, you write your code one time, and it just works on both. It's all about being efficient and getting to market fast.
So, which way should you go? Well, Moshe's advice is pretty clear. Go cross-platform. Think about it from a business perspective. For most companies, especially startups, hiring two separate developer teams is just way too expensive and slow. So if you learn a cross-platform skill, you become this super valuable, efficient person who could build a product for everybody. And you know what that means? More job opportunities for you.
Okay, so you've picked the cross-platform highway. Great choice. But now you're immediately at another fork in the road. There are two giants in this space, and you've got to decide which one you're going to master, React Native or Flutter.
So your choice is between React Native and Flutter. Mosh lays out the trade-off really clearly. React Native, which is from Facebook, has a bigger job market right now. But the catch? It's generally a bit harder to learn. Then you have Flutter from Google, which people often say is easier and way faster to get the hang of. The job market for Flutter is growing like crazy, but it's still a bit smaller at the moment.
And this right here is where that steeper learning curve becomes very real. Just look at the difference. To get good at React Native, you're not just learning one thing. You have to learn a whole stack of web technologies first: HTML, CSS, JavaScript, then React. Mosh figures that takes about a year. But with Flutter, you just focus on one new language, Dart, which can cut your learning time down to about 8 months. That 4 months difference is huge when you're eager to land that first job.
All right, so you've chosen your path. But whether you went with React Native or Flutter, there are some universal tools that every single professional developer needs in their back pocket. Let's call this your essential toolkit, the stuff you absolutely have to pack for the trip.
First up is Git. And seriously, this is non-negotiable. It's a version control system. The best way to think about it is like a save button on steroids for your code. It doesn't just save what you have right now, it saves every version. So if you made a mistake an hour ago, no problem, you can just rewind time. Working with a big team, Git lets everyone work on the same project at the same time without tripping over each other. It is the absolute foundation of professional teamwork. Next, data structures and algorithms. It can be really tempting to skip this part, especially if you're self-taught, but Mosh says this is a huge mistake. This stuff isn't just boring theory. It's the science of writing code that's good, not just code that works. It's how you make your app fast instead of laggy. And even more importantly, pretty much every big tech company is going to grill you on this in a job interview. Knowing this is your ticket in the door. And finally, design patterns. If data structures are your raw materials, like bricks and wood, then design patterns are the blueprints. They're proven, road-tested solutions to common problems the developers face all the time. For example, how do you make sure your app only creates one instance of a specific object? Well, there's a pattern for that. Using these patterns shows you're thinking like a pro. So you've got your path and your toolkit is packed. Now let's get some wisdom for the road ahead. These are some killer tips from Mosh to help you stay on track and avoid the common traps that people fall into. The source material has 12 great tips, but they all kind of boil down to these 4 core ideas. First, practice and build. You can't learn to swim by just reading a book about it, right? You got to get in the water. Second, join the community. Coding can feel lonely, but it's a team sport. Third, learn to debug. Being able to find and fix your own mistakes is like a developer superpower. And fourth, stay resilient. You are going to get stuck. Tech is always changing. The ability to just keep going is everything. And here's one of my absolute favorite tips from the list: rubber duck debugging. It sounds ridiculous, I know, but trust me, it actually works. When you're totally stuck on a bug, try explaining your code line by line to a rubber duck on your desk. The simple act of saying it out loud often forces your brain to see the flaw in your logic, and the solution just clicks. So, after all this learning and all this practice, what's the payoff? What's the awesome destination at the end of this road trip? Well, it's the ability to turn your ideas into actual, real things. Let's look at some of the cool, portfolio-worthy projects you'll be able to build. You could build things like a fitness tracker to log your workouts, or an expense tracker to manage your budget, or maybe a news app that pulls in the latest headlines, or even a full-on e-commerce app. The key here is that these aren't just little school projects. Each one of these demonstrates specific, hireable skills, like handling data, working with APIs, and building a great user interface. This is how you prove to an employer that you can do the job. So, what's the #1 takeaway from this entire roadmap? It's that learning to code is a journey, not some magic trick you learn overnight. There are going to be tough days. There are going to be bugs that drive you crazy. But the key is patience and persistence. Every single step on this roadmap is a step towards your goal. So the only question left is, which path are you going to start on?